So Pella Corporation makes windows, and windows you don't generally associate with 3D printing, and with an organization that's estimated to make over $500 million per year, why can't they just go ahead and afford molds? What are they making with 3D printing to where they need both customization and mass production? Well, now we're going to look at what Pella Corporation is using 3D printing for. So Pella keeps a print farm on site in order to produce certain parts and pieces, but what they've been using it mainly for are jigs, guides, and tools inside the factory. When you're working inside of a manufacturing environment, seconds matter and wasted effort matters. You want your employees to be happy and efficient as much as possible, so you don't want them to have to be twisting around doing something weird or odd, or even necessarily having something that's high skill, because then it's really important that the right person be there on the right day. You want tools that allow anybody to do any job, but these can be tough to make because it takes a lot of iteration to get them to the right shape. This is where Pella's really been using 3D printing. One of the very first solutions that they created was drill guides. Now, these are very simple jigs where basically you have holes in the side and people are able to slide them down and run a drill where a drill actually runs. This could be done with traditional machining and that kind of stuff fairly easily. You can take a board, put a square on the side of it, and then drill some holes in it, and then you have a jig that can hold up to this. But with 3D printing, as those jigs wear out, you're able to very quickly produce a new one without having to worry about who knows how to make the jig and who has the designs and who has time in the wood shop to knock this together. Printing creates a really good automated way of producing these. But then Pella goes even further, and they create custom jigs for the tools themselves. Not just a guide for where the tool head is going, but a way to hold the tool itself in a more ergonomic way. These nail gun fixtures, for example, allow technicians to just go around the outer edge of a door and window and just knock together the trim very quickly and easily, where before it was kind of an art and a science and a training thing to where somebody had to know how to do it. They just have the nail gun in the right position all the time. Nobody has to lift it up or hold it, but the 3D printing jig lets them create a tool that is way more efficient than somebody having to learn how to use a nail gun and be tough enough and strong enough to work with it all day long. And these types of tools can continue to evolve. When you have 3D printing set up and now you understand how to use it, you can create more complex jigs and fixtures. So like this weather stripping tool allows a technician to just run around the outer side and just put weather stripping in like that. So it saves them thousands of dollars probably per day in actual work because they need to take that and copy it across multiple assembly lines where people are putting in this weather stripping. So 3D printing, again, lets them store this tool for forever so that they can reprint it whenever they need it. It doesn't require any expertise to get it printed as soon as it's optimized for the machine. And then you can produce them and use them in the assembly line where you can save huge amounts of money because you can jig up. And since 3D printing is so quick and easy to create new versions of these tools, as people realize, oh, we should actually change the angle on that, you can just knock out another one overnight. Now you get into something interesting. Tools and jigs are fine, and those are very often something that you want to have internally because the rate of iteration is so high that you don't necessarily always want to outsource that. I mean, we have a prototyping app, but it's not something you should use for that. You should probably get a printer in-house so that you can use it. But sometimes you have parts and pieces that you need to produce thousands of. So like these protective clips that are put onto the windows. These historically were something that were produced inside the print farm and continue to be, but they need so many of them because they're effectively a disposable part. They're making thousands of these because these will basically go out with the door themselves. Something to protect the corners of it. It could be deading or padding or even a box kind of standoffs and that kind of stuff as stuff is being packaged. This type of 3D printed stuff is where you need mass production, and you can use giant print farms like here at Slant 3D. These types of applications are really nifty because, again, you can create a custom item that maybe could have been molded, but 3D printing is so cost effective, up to 100,000 or even 250,000 pieces, very often printing is fine. And then by the time you get to that quantity, you want to readjust the design again anyway, so you can turn it over and you don't have to cut a new mold or wait for that mold to be cut, because time is worth as much as dollars most of the time for these organizations. So Pella is a really great example of where a corporation is using 3D printing to create really high cost savings on their internal operations. While you can produce 3D printed products as final products and send them out into the world, internal use is a really good way to kind of gateway drug your organization into it, to where they can see the advantages of the rate of iteration and then also get used to the idea and wade into the amount of scale that 3D printing can provide. You can produce hundreds of thousands of parts with 3D printing, but then you have to kind of get used to that idea and the new dynamics of like, oh, we don't have to have warehousing anymore. We don't have to have as much shipping anymore. We don't have to wait for molds. We don't have the capital expensive molds. All that stuff becomes clearer and a safer sort of a bet when you're doing it internally. So for anybody working to kind of bring 3D printing into their organization, Pella is a really good example. because there's really high ROI applications right away that are fast and easy that you can do with a couple of printers just available. Create some jigs for some people that make them 5 times more effective and efficient. But then from there, you can find the parts and pieces that are just kind of have a lot of cost associated with them of getting the mold, storing the pieces, so on and so forth, and not being able to change over time, and start to move those into 3D printing to where you can produce hundreds of thousands of those. And now you're saving all this upfront cost, getting the same piece that you need, and giving yourself way more flexibility into the future. So it's just a great example of seeing where 3D printing can work in really large organizations where they can save thousands of dollars by using this new technology that gives all new types of capabilities that are fully mature today. So real quick, guys, we want to thank Additive Manufacturing Media for bringing this to our attention. They have a great video over on their channel as well where they talk about this, and we really love seeing other folks talking about the actual applications of 3D printing. So thank you so much to them, and yeah, go check out their video. Have a great day, everybody.